Hi, Phil Bouchard here with Stewart Title and another Title Tip Tuesday. Today I want to talk briefly about title insurance policies. It's kind of the purpose of a title insurance company. It's the product that we issue, and there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about it or them actually, because generally in a transaction we issue two title insurance policies. So let's talk a little bit about who is insured on those policies if we issue two, to whom. I guess that would be the insured, and then generally who pays for those title insurance policies, because there's confusion, I think, with all of that good stuff. So, a preliminary title report that's issued at the beginning of a transaction is not title insurance. It's just a roadmap of the transaction on where the escrow officer needs to take everybody to get to a point where we can close and then issue a title insurance policy. At closing, the purchaser gets what's called an owner's title insurance policy. That is usually paid for by the seller. It's just been standard here. I've been in the business almost 40 years, and that's the way it's been since I came into the business a bunch of years ago. And one might think, well, why would a seller pay for the buyer's title insurance? Well, here's why. Because if the seller doesn't and the buyer doesn't get title insurance and there's an issue with title, who is the buyer going to pursue to rectify the issue? They're going to sue the seller. So I think one of the primary reasons the seller pays for the title insurance policy for the buyer is it absolves them of any liability or any major liability with the transaction. Okay, so there's the owner's policy that the buyer gets and is paid for by the seller. And then the second policy that we usually issue is a lender's policy. If the buyer gets financing to purchase the property, the lender wants a title insurance policy as well. That one comes at a highly discounted rate. It's about 50% of the owner's policy, and usually it's the buyer that pays for that because it's associated with the buyer's financing, and usually, especially in today's market with it being such a strong seller's market, we're not finding the sellers today giving many concessions, and that includes concessions for financing. So the buyers are having to pay generally for their own closing costs, financing costs, which includes the lender's title insurance policy. So we have an owner's policy that's issued to the buyer at closing, paid for by the seller. We have the lender's policy that's issued at closing, where the lender is the insured and the buyer generally pays for that. If you have any questions about title insurance, more questions, there are multiple types of policies that we do issue, but I think that's for another Tuesday. I hope you're all well. If you have any questions about title insurance, give me a call. You've got my number. Thank you.